Meanwhile, back at the queer super layer, Tiny Baruch and his amazing friends capture the future of queerness through incredible storytelling, uncanny visual art, and fantastic writing. In other words, they create queer comics. Do you like comics? Do you like queer POC comic books? This event explores the importance of owning, celebrating, and documenting our queer stories through sequential art and celebrates how queer comic book creators have always shown us a future where we thrive, a future full of queer joy, queer sexuality, and queer POC prosperity. Join host, writer, performer, stand-up comedian, illustrator, and creator of Tiny Baruch, Baruch Hernandez, as he shares the laughs, the tears, and the donuts that is very gay world of Tiny Baruch. Special guests and presenters include Anand Vedawala, Breena Nuñez, and Sina Grace. This event will be a fun, dynamic celebration of queer POC comic book creators, where each presenter will be sharing their art, stories, and what they feel is the future of queer comic creating. And now, without further ado, let's get excited for Tiny Baruch and his amazing friends. Yes.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Tiny Baruch and his amazing friends, a show in which we sexy, beautiful comic creators basically show you our drawings. We've been drawing all day, people. We've been drawing and working so hard to bring you some storytelling. I heard the official name is sequential graphic storytelling, which is like the actual like name for what we do. But I just like to show people my drawings. I was hanging out with my mom the other day, and I was telling her about this show because immigrant parents sometimes have no idea what the hell people like us do. Immigrant parents want you to get a nice job, get married, have grandchildren. Maybe not spend all day drawing dicks like I do sometimes, but at least I get paid. Thank you so much for being here, folks. So I was talking to my mother, and I was telling her what this show was all about, and she just started laughing and reminded me that when we lived in Mexico, she had this large wall to wall closet. And when I was 4 or 5, when I started drawing a lot, I started creating my own drawings and stories, and I would basically illustrate my stories. And she said that I covered her like entire wall with my art and would like show people the story by pointing at each frame in my little head that I had drawn out in 8.5 by 11 pieces of paper with markers, not crayons, because I was a fancy little queer boy and I thought crayons were for chumps. I was all about markers. I would never draw with crayons. And so she just laughed because she was like, this is something you've been doing your whole life. In order to tell your stories, you draw them and then force people to watch them. And I said, no, mom, I'm not forcing anyone. They're paying me to do this. This is something that a lot of us want to do professionally. And a lot of the people here tonight do it professionally themselves. So thank you so much for being here, everyone. If you don't know where you are, what's going on, or who I am, my name is Baruch Porras Hernandez. That's right, Baruch Porras Hernandez, if you speak Spanish. I am a basically writer and performer and illustrator. My rule is that I write what I perform and I draw what I write. And basically, if people pay me to do it, I'll do it. I like to do stand-up comedy. I like to do poetry. I have 2 books of poetry out. Please buy them. I'm very poor. But I also love to draw. And I have all my drawings here that I'm going to show you in a moment. But yeah, I love to draw. And a couple of years ago, when I was super depressed, I started drawing a little tiny version of myself in these tiny little notebooks. I mean, people keep asking me why I call it Tiny Baruch, and well, I don't really don't have the notebooks with me, but I draw a little version of myself in these tiny notebooks, and I basically use Tiny Baruch to talk about my feelings, make jokes, tell stories, all through the art of my pens and markers. Really, I only draw with markers and pens. Sometimes I do pencil, but I like to go in. I don't even do a sketch sometimes. I just like start drawing with a pen, and if I mess up, who cares? And I've been doing Tiny Baruch ever since. I think 2016 is when I did the first one, and people just kind of fell in love with him. And I never thought it would be something that I would be doing this much, but people keep asking me to bring Tiny Baruch back. During the pandemic, he himself got a little depressed, and so he took a little break, and now he's back tonight to entertain all of you. And he's so happy. He like Tiny Baruch is different from me. Big Baruch is full of worries and pain and guts and blood and overeats at night when he's sad. But Tiny Baruch is a drawing. He's imaginary. He's happy and fun, and he loves you and he wants you to succeed. So he's so happy that you're all here. But I'm gonna stop talking because I want to introduce you all to my friends. That's right. Tonight's show is called Tiny Baruch and his amazing friends. One of the best parts of being an artist, I remember when I was young and I found other artists. I was a shy kid, like a lot of us. A lot of us performers and a lot of us artists are that whole like shy inside, but I want attention. So whenever I found other people that also were drawing, it was like a dream. When I found other nerds who didn't really want to party, they just wanted to draw quietly somewhere. But together, it was always the best. And some of my favorite memories are just when, like, during lunch, the library was empty and it was just me and my friends drawing Sailor Moon. Usually it was my Asian friends who would help me with my homework, and then I would draw Sailor Moon with them, and it was awesome. Or we would draw X-Men, we would draw all sorts of stuff. But it was one of my like favorite memories, to just be able to draw with people that you like. And so tonight, for tonight's show, I decided to invite some friends to join me and share their drawings and art and stories with me. So our first performer tonight, or artist, or presenter, let's just call him our first friend. Our first friend tonight is a good friend of mine. He is an educator, an illustrator, an organizer. He organizes the huge San Francisco Zine Fest that happens every year. I'm sure it's going to happen again now that the pandemic is winding down. I can't wait for you all to see him and read his stuff and buy all his stuff. All the artists tonight, folks, please follow them on social media. Buy all of their books if they have them, or their comic books, and please support them as much as you can. Please give it up for our first presenter, a good friend of mine. Give it up for Anand Vedawala!
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Baruch, for having me, and thank you for that awesome intro. I'm just going to jump right into it. I'm going to get started because I'm in New Jersey and it's 10:20 right now. I guess I've got to share my screen. So let me do that first. Okay. Hi, I'm Anand. The name is pronounced like the words on and un, and it's said in quick succession. The D is soft, but I don't like to bring attention to it. My name means joy or happiness or gay, I guess. I'm a kindergarten teacher, and I also make zines and tell stories. As any respectable gay man would, I wanted to talk about myself when I first started making zines. But I realized it made me sound like a self-centered asshole. Those, of course, are typically centered. Mine mostly is, I swear. But instead of mustering up the courage to talk about myself, I did the least cliche thing a gay man could do. I wrote about my mom. She's amazing, of course. She's an incredible human being, and I love her, and I just wanted to make this zine about her. Speaking of my mom, two things. Happy birthday, Mom. She's actually not watching this. I didn't tell her about this, but still wanted to wish her a happy birthday. And two, I actually recently came out to her. It's complicated. I came out to my cousins when I was 18, who then told their parents. And then I came out to my dad about 8 years ago, but he told me not to tell my mom, so I didn't. And so I finally came out to my mom just this past Monday. So 3 days ago. It's odd to be someone who organizes and participates in queer events in the Bay Area. But then when I'm back in Jersey, I'm completely in the closet. I'm someone who hides his almost 4-year relationship with his partner from his own family. I moved out of the house 11 years ago, and my mother thought that I'd moved away from home and become distant because of something she had done. She said, "Your brother invited us to his home 6 months after moving to California, and you've moved many times, but you've never once invited us. You've never invited me." She said this on Monday with tears in her eyes. So I always wondered, what must I have done as a mother that my son doesn't want me in his life? She still needs time to process everything we talked about. "I'm not blaming you," she assured me. But then how do you explain to someone that a mistake or fault or even an incident hasn't happened? There's no need to blame or hold anyone accountable. It's like someone telling you the sky is blue right now, and you respond with, "It's okay, I don't blame you." there's no reason to blame. For now, Mom and I are okay, but we allow more silences to live between us. She says we're okay. But I did notice something later that night when my dad, Mom, and I watched the Hawks beat the 76ers. She usually sits next to me. When I'm on the couch, she pulls her chair closer, squeezes my arm, and smiles, just staring at me. Last night, as she sat down, she pulled her chair away. No smile, no arm squeeze. Hooray! Anyway, time to talk about hot chachas. Look, sad-faced Anand even has the zine open and ready for us. But that was her immediate reaction. 24 hours after I came out to her, she broke. It's like this person who was happy to see me all the time just broke. She sounded hopeless. "It doesn't matter" is something I'm not used to hearing her say. But she did when I asked her if she wanted to go out for lunch or what she wanted to do that day. Kids grow up and leave you. Bye-bye, ta-ta. They change. They don't listen to you, she said. She sounded angry. I listened. She needs time. She didn't make eye contact. She stayed in a different room. She didn't smile. 48 hours later, we went shopping at Target. I got her to smile twice. We pretended I hadn't come out to her. Today, 72 hours later, she wanted to talk again. She asked me more questions. She said, "You said those 3 years after you realized you were gay were really tough for you. I'm just grateful you're here, in front of me, alive and well. I'm glad you had friends who supported you. I'm glad that they took care of you when I didn't even know you needed care. I know you must have been alone and sad those years, but I'm so happy you didn't commit suicide. So many people do." Later, she added, "I don't love you any less. You are who you are. I still love you. I will always love you. I'm just Glad you're here. And then we went to Taco Bell for lunch. Like I said, my mom is amazing. Look, it's regular faced Anand. He's back to redirect us to hot chachas. Chacha is a Hindi word that translates to uncle in English. So hot chachas, obviously, means hot uncles. But then, are there really any other kind? Growing up in the US since age 10 and looking up bear/daddy porn since age 16, I noticed only a few years ago that Indian websites often refer to older men as uncles rather than daddies like we would in Western culture. It makes sense. I've been taught to call every unrelated adult male cha-cha since I can remember. Not surprisingly, all of them were hot. Though I wish I had appreciated their hotness when I was younger, instead of roaming around like an idiot till I came to the realization at age 17 that I preferred dick. Here are some chachas from my art book who I think you'll appreciate getting to know as well. This one's called Hold On Tight, Just Don't Let Go, Cha-Cha. I attended a cousin's wedding in India 9 years ago. It wasn't very memorable because I got sick for 10 of the 14 days I was there. But for the brief moments I was conscious, I remember going to the wedding photographer's home to pick up some equipment. It was my first time on the back of a motorcycle without a helmet. And photographer Chacha advised, just don't let go. So I held on tightly and laughed while filming the rickshaws, cars, food carts, cyclists, cows, and dogs we passed on the way. My don't let go cha-cha. And I rode for about 30 minutes as the wind blew his soft and fragrant hair while blowing away the strands that failed to stay rooted in my head. I still remember Chacha's drenched shirt, his ripe armpit, and his laugh, resulting from my frightened body pressing close to him, letting the vibrations excite us. Let me show you my other instrument, cha-cha. Cha-cha, I noticed you right away as you played a mridangam, not a tabla. I was 19, you were in your early 30s. I asked you about your instrument. I asked you if you would teach it to me. But you felt you were too hot for me, or could you sense the hots I had for you? Whatever the reason, the next band's player is the one I'm going to draw today. He liked my questions. He liked me being next to him. He showed me how to play his instrument. He smelled like rose petals. Let me pick up my pace so people don't think we're together. What kind of inappropriate cha-cha do you think I am? Cha-cha. Cha-cha. Why do you walk at a faster pace than your wife? Why do you stay at least 5 feet in front of her? Cha-cha, I know you're a couple, which means you're definitely married to her and have had sex with her. Yes, you have kids. Yes, that means you've had sex. Admitting you're a sexual being is okay. But cha-cha, I also fantasize that you're interested in other cha-chas. Cha-chas like me. And that's why you don't walk with your wife. You want other cha-chas to know you're single and still agile. I mean, you must be. Look how fast you're walking. Look at that stride. Walk faster, cha-cha. I'm waiting for you. I met this cha-cha in India during a friend's wedding. I look at you and I think of Gulabo, cha-cha. There's always a cha-cha explaining to his employees, which are usually his family members, the flower arrangements he has designed for a particular event. He knows how to make garlands. He doesn't hesitate in tearing apart the marigolds. He knows how to use his hands. He's exceptionally skilled and underpaid. He can paint with gulal, which is colored powders, and oils. He can construct a canopy out of bamboo and palm fronds. He can make a lattice out of hundreds of flowers, and he can do it all within a day. But he still thinks he's not good enough to sit with me for a cup of chai and some Parle-G biscuits. He calls me Saab, and he thinks he's not allowed to talk to me. Cha-cha, my inability to speak your language doesn't make me better. Cha-cha, English is shit. It's not my language. It's a language I was forced to learn. Cha-Cha, you're beautiful, you're talented, and I love you. I'll hold your hand if you hold mine, Cha-Cha. Cha-Cha, I wish you could see how easily men hold their hands in Gujarat, how intimately their palms sweat into their intertwined fingers. Cha-Cha, when I first moved to the US, I held another Indian boy's hand, but he pulled it away from me immediately. Felt like a slap in the face for something I didn't know was wrong. Fortunately, when we were away from the gaze of non-Indian kids, he explained to me that we don't do that here. It's wrong. Don't ever touch another boy like that. But Cha-Cha, I like to be held. I didn't know this until as an adult, my boyfriend at the time told me to sleep in a different bed because he didn't like our bodies touching while we slept. He didn't like being touched by me, I would later discover, because he didn't have any problem marrying a man and sharing a bed with him for the rest of his life. Hold his hand, Cha-Cha, and don't let it go. There will be a time when they won't let you love, even though you enjoy feeling his fingers in yours. Hello, excuse me. Priorities, please. Cha-Cha. Some Cha-Chas are huggers, and luckily I am too. Some Cha-Chas say priorities when you walk through the door to remind you that before anything else, the most important thing is for you and Cha-Cha to hold each other, embrace, settle your head onto his shoulder, and just push it right below his lower jaw, and breathe him in. He writes notes on the bananas he packs in my lunch. He texts me, guess what, in the middle of the day, just to tell me he loves me. My hand rests on his thigh when he drives because he knows I like to feel his body next to mine. Because at times, even a foot away from him is too far. I hold his hand and he doesn't pull away. Priorities, Cha-Cha? I love you. You know that. I've been getting better about telling people and animals, especially my cat, I love them. I used to say that I tell my cat I love him more times in 1 hour than I've said the phrase to everyone else in the world, combined. That's not true anymore. And I have you to thank for that. Gujarati ma bolu tane prem karu chu. Hey Cha-Cha, guess what? Thank you, everyone. And no, that's not me standing in front of a centered asshole. Those aren't ass hairs. Obviously, I am the centered asshole. That's my website. That's my social. These are my links. And this is me with someone incredible. Thank you so much. And I'm going to pass it off back to Baruch.
Oh my gosh, everybody, even though we can't see or hear you, please, from the comfort of your own homes, give a nice round of applause to Anand Vedawala. Thank you so much, Anand, for making me cry at the beginning of my show with that beautiful story about your mom. And then I burst out laughing when you said you guys went to Taco Bell. Oh my goodness, beautiful. A dream in the future, maybe if they're ever in the same state, we should take our moms to Taco Bell because my mom, even though she's a health nut and she's like always on some sort of weird, strange diet, her like guilty pleasure, and she's gonna kill me for telling the world this. Whenever she's like feeling a little down, she's like, Taco Bell, please. And I was like, oh, what kind of a Mexican woman wants Taco Bell? Okay, let's go. And then we enjoy the Taco Bell. I hope you guys enjoyed Anand Vedawala's set. Please follow him on social media and support all of his stuff. Go to Zine Fest. Yay, Anand Vedawala. Our next presenter is an incredible illustrator, writer. I'm so excited that they said yes to doing this show with us. I've been a fan for years. Please give it up for the incredible and talented and gorgeous Breena Nuñez. Yay, Breena Nuñez. Woo.
Baruch, thank you so much for that introduction and for inviting me to share comics with y'all. And I'm just gonna go ahead and let the pictures do all of the talking now. As I share my screen. Here are some little quarantine diaries by Breena Nuñez. How quarantine changed me. In the before times, I remember how exciting it was to get that cool thing I ordered online. Yes, my new socks finally arrived at my doorstep. And there's a happy package. During quarantine, cool. Now to wait 24 hours before I crack this open. This package isn't happy. In the before times, going outside and greeting your neighbors was a natural thing. Morning, going outside to enjoy the sun? You know it. During quarantine, don't make eye contact or you'll infect that person. In the before times, I would have monstrous sneeze attacks that I couldn't always contain. Ugh. Ugh. During quarantine, oh God, kaboom. I would cancel plans when I was too tired to deal with the world. And during quarantine, but some things haven't changed. Ooh. Let me just pause for a minute. Oh, there we go. Trying something new. Let's see how this new bag of coffee is like. Grind, grind, grind. Some anatomically correct images of a French press and a tea kettle. Water. Pour, pour, pour. Oh, gotta get buff. Gotta be strong to dance at the club. Brew, brew, brew. Frothing cream. A breakdown of what my coffee looks like in the morning. Foam, cream, the coffee, and a Powell's mug. Sip, sip, sip. Mmm. Uh-oh. A caffeine high. Who's that dungeon master? My partner and I cooking some dinner. Well, they're actually cooking dinner. This right here is reminding me of a witch's cauldron. Wait right there. Haha, found you. Sneaky sneak. Behold, magic hands. Art thou a witch? No. Warlock? No. Wizard? No, damn it. I am Dungeon Master. Trying to social. I don't know when, but we're going to be outside in a post-COVID situation where I'll be talking to random people. My in-person social skills are already fading hella hard. Remember how you tried talking to that scooter person yesterday? Ah, yes. A golden opportunity to engage with a complete stranger without a computer screen dividing us. Hi there! Oh, hi! I'm sobbing. What's wrong now? Oh, I'm just too scary to talk to now. You're still thinking about that scooter person? Garf achievement unlocked. Damn, I really been lying down here all day. Based on a true story. Garfield the Cat scholarship has served me very well. And I'm just watching an episode from The Office. Am I real anymore? Pat-a-patting my knees. Shing. Oh, Jesus. I really said that. Oh, God. And my voice sounds sarcastic. Oh, you're cute. Now, I know you just didn't lie to my face. I guess I'm not really real. Oh God, how embarrassing. Quarantine queer cut. Alright, I'm done. Why did you shave half of my head? Oh, you wanted all of it shaved? Yeah, you've seen how short my hair gets. I'm ready. Click. Okay, but you're gonna be bald though. I'm ready, damn it. Cool guy again. Mwah. Thank you for this. Next day in the Zoom class. Professor, your hair looks so good. Thanks, my partner gave me this cut. Damn, they like a for real barber. Pat, pat. Huh? What's happening here? The sound of fingers moving. Professor, I think they want a tip. Oh, I knew I was forgetting something. Here you are, my good chum. I'll throw in the sour gummy worms too. Hand signal of a happy spouse. How can I help you? Hey there. How can I help you? How can they help me today? But I really can't think how to ask for help. Maybe they can tell me if I come off as weird or insecure. What am I thinking? They're not a therapist, stupid brain. Ugh. But I need to know. How will I ever adjust to being around other humans? Ugh. Hey. You. Oh, okay. Are any of us okay? Uh, you still want coffee? Oh, yeah. One latte with 2% milk, please. Thank you. If I were interim president back in 2020, for my first acts as interim president, Black people take the rest of 2020 off. No one is illegal. Borders, they just gotta go. The land is going back to indigenous peoples. Lastly, 2 potted plants for everyone. Now I'm gonna go home and eat a bag of cheesy ruffles. Make it out with the chips. The president has low blood sugar. Things to not assume about Black Latinxes from the US. One day after choir rehearsal at San Francisco State, hey, Breena, can I join you for lunch? Sure thing. So I've been super curious about you. Where exactly are you from? Oh, I'm from the Bay. But where are you from? Well, my folks are migrants from El Salvador and Guatemala. Yo, I'm just trying to eat this burger. Oh, okay. That's all I needed to know. Okay, buddy. Why are you dying to know about my ethnicity? Ooh. Because on the first day of class, I noticed your hair and thought you came from Africa. I wanted to be your friend and show you American culture. I'll teach you, well, you teach me everything about African life. That's Mufasa giving a side eye to this character. Drop. The SF law. Headline says, local college student dies from cringing very, very hard. Wipe, wipe. Yeah, so you can forever leave me the beep alone. Arte a Frogosto, a hashtag created by Carlos Lara. And this is his handle right here. And these are just a few images that contributed to the month of August, celebrating Afro-descendancy in El Salvador. Chingar. Melanin activated. Me trying to get my melanin activated. But then only parts of me are activated. English translation, to annoy the hell out of you. Pachanga, English translation, a big ass party. With the cameo featuring local DJ, Fiera Ferrari. Chévere, one of my favorite words. English translation, something amazing. Tens, across the board. What if? Hey, I just had a thought. What if our future kids are queer? Aww. Be the pretty warrior who fights for love and justice for all Black lives. And that's the end. Thank you all for reading comics with me. And I'll pass the mic back to Baruch.
Oh my goodness. That was so wonderful. Everybody, please give it up for Breena Nuñez. That was so adorable. And I mean, I would have not dropped my cheeseburger. I would have push the racist white person away while grabbing my cheeseburger. That was so chévere. Thank you so much, Breena Nuñez. Please follow Breena on all the socials. Go to her website. Donate to all of her anything. Basically, send her money on Venmo. But don't worry, all the artists are getting paid tonight. But, a little tip goes a long, long way. Our next presenter slash performer slash comics creator. Honestly, I'm just going to be honest with y'all. I had a big crush on him before I met him. I knew who he was before. He knew who I was because I'm a big comic books fan. And I just thought he was awesome. And then I got to know him, and he is awesome. He's one of the most successful friends that I have because he has done it all. He's written for DC, for Marvel, and Image Comics. Not a lot of people can say that. And he also has his own graphic novels out there of his own work. And he's got merch, he's got stickers, and he's a singer-songwriter. He does it all. And he's also pretty hot. Please give it up for the legendary Sina Grace. Woo! Yay, Sina. Mwah.
Oh my gosh, everyone's really amazing tonight, and it's stressing me out and also making me incredibly hungry. Uh, Hi, my name is Sina. I am, as Baruch said, a writer and artist in comic books, and I do a lot of other things. I think lately I've been giving my imagination the grace to say, instead of being this or that, I'm just a storyteller. However the stories come out of me is how they come out of me, whether they're good or bad. It's just sort of the best, whatever the best vessel is how it will be. And for tonight, I'm gonna kind of do a mishmash of different storytelling forms in order to tell you about the most interesting thing that's happened to me during this pandemic. And it's not very interesting at all. It's actually pretty sad and downright depressing. I became a Swiftie. I became a major Taylor Swift fan. For those who don't know who Taylor Swift is, she is a multi-platinum Grammy-winning recording artist, famous all over the world. And for the most part, I thought she was like unbearably white, unbearably apolitical, and I was pretty apathetic to her. But now, being trapped at home for 13 months, I am a Swiftie, which Urban Dictionary says Taylor Swift's fans, who are more than just fans, are Swifties. They obsess over Taylor Swift and know everything about her, her life, and her music. A Swiftie's goal is to meet Taylor Swift and tell her how much she has changed their life and what she means to said person. So I'm going to tell you about this journey, and hopefully you will sympathize with me. And you have to understand, while everyone was dealing with their existential dread, learning to bake, picking up succulents left and right, getting married, getting divorced, having kids, I'm a work from home freelancer. I already did all of that. Well, minus the kids and marriage part. So I had nothing else to do but become a Taylor Swift fan. That's just how it went. I had to become basic and become a Taylor Swift fan. So I'm going to show you a couple of panels, and hopefully you'll still like me after this. Let me just do the share content thing. Hold on. Boop. And start broadcast. One more second, folks. All right, I think it's happening. Hold on a second. Boom. How I Became a Swiftie by me. So chapter 1, the prologue is a pandemic happens. So chapter 1 begins with me having watched just about everything I could possibly watch on all of the streaming platforms. I decide to put on, one night when I can't sleep because anxiety, I decide to put on that Netflix Taylor Swift documentary, which it's a music documentary. It's dumb. But my main takeaway was she finally took a stance politically, maybe a little too late, but maybe not. She used her platform to get people to vote. She actually told people how she felt about the last dude in office. And she stood by the LGBTQIA community, which honestly is important to me. I don't want to give pop stars my money if they're just going to take it and not stand by their people. So that was like, oh, that was very interesting. The next turn in the story was when more of the Kim and Kanye scandal unfurled on social media. There was leaked audio. For people who don't know, Kanye West made a song called Famous, and he and Taylor Swift got into a fight about it because she did not approve of the line where he said he made that be famous, that he could still sleep with her, or he should sleep with her because he made her famous. And his then wife, Kim Kardashian, put out some leaked audio where it seemed like she approved of it. But then someone else in the middle of the pandemic put out like the full 30-minute thing. And you find out that Taylor did not hear the entire line. And she even specifically says, like, yeah, as long as you don't call me a B. So after a year of the world turning against her, it's like, oh, wait a minute. She was right in that situation. And Kim and Kanye are the actual snakes. So with all of these things in mind, my perspective on her as an apolitical pop star who I thought was somewhat bland started to shift a little bit. Chapter 2. Mind you, I'm still a freelance work from hire guy throughout this whole pandemic, and I had to keep working. And I need music to work. Otherwise, I'm just sitting with my thoughts, and that's no good. So at the time, I was working on a YA book about a young girl living with ghosts, and I needed to get in the zone. But all of the music I tend to listen to kind of heavy and kind of real and about people talking about real shit. And I really just couldn't do that at this point in history. I actually needed to escape, and I needed to listen to something that was low stakes, but felt high stakes. Who could that possibly be? Who could be both vanilla and feel like they are serving you something spicy and racy and intense? Taylor Swift's album Reputation, where she thought she was being a bad girl. Look What You Made Me Do was her lead single. And let me tell you, nothing made me feel more badass and nasty than listening to her talk about, I don't even know what she did, but it worked. It got me through that deadline, and I actually finished Ghosted in LA on time somehow. So that also warmed me up to her. But then the biggest thing happened in July. She released a surprise album called Folklore. And let me tell you, getting to react in real time with other Taylor Swift fans, you find out how many Taylor Swift fans there are around you. And there are a lot. And mind you, you're talking to someone who never watched Lost when it was on air. I don't like any of the sports. It took me a long time to watch RuPaul's Drag Race because even I thought that was too commercial. So for me to go through this like pop culture event while everyone else was going through it was really exciting. And for people who don't know, being a Taylor Swift fan is really expensive. So in order to subsidize my new Taylor Swift web store fandom, I started making my own Taylor Swift merch. I think she'd approve. First it was postcards, then it was this enamel pin. I made some stickers, I made other postcards. And that basically put me even in terms of anytime I would buy a Taylor Swift sweater or a Taylor Swift hoodie or a Taylor Swift CD, it all balanced out. But the other thing that happened in all of this was that I kind of developed a little bit of a community. Again, everyone is a Taylor Swift fan. So, well, not everyone, but a lot of people are Taylor Swift fans who you wouldn't even guess. And it just made my DMs on social media just such a happier place to talk about something so I don't know, vanilla again. It was just nice to be pumpkin spice latte basic while shit was getting really real everywhere. Which leads us to the end or the beginning of the next journey, the next chapter of my life. I'm a Swiftie. It's not going to change. It's here to stay. And I'm actually going to be okay with it because I think it's okay to have this balm, this sort of superficial healing balm, living in this world that's slightly romantic, a lot whitewashed, but it's okay because it's pop music, right? Can it be okay just this once? I don't know. I'm going to let it be okay. With that being said, though, to the next part of my storytelling. Full Swiftie here. Can you see me? Oh, wait, hold on. Can you see me? Like I said, full Swiftie. And I just feel like everything is kind of a song lyric now in one of her romantic stories. And I want to sing one to you right now. Sorry, Baruch, I didn't pat the wig down. It's going to be okay. Who knew so much magic could happen on a dating app? Sorry, I'm so nervous. I matched with you and you messaged me right back. Suddenly dating online and dating in a pandemic can be totally romantic. Let me see if I have the chords right. Even though we were both inoculated, I was scared to meet, but Tinder said we were faded. All of it. It's just, life can be so fun and romantic now, even with this. The shit brown of your eyes. Oh, this is so bad. Anyway, makes me feel like I'm in a movie. That's the life of a Swiftie. Even when you're off key, even when everything isn't working, you just try to find the magic no matter what. And that's where I am right now, folks. So that's the most exciting thing of my last 13 months is I'm a major Taylor Swift fan. So help me out of this, please. Thank you. We got to get to Baruch in a second.
Let's give it up one more time for Sina Grace, the fabulous Sina Grace. Yay! Thank you so much, Sina Grace, for doing this show with us. Thank you. One thing I do want to mention about Sina is that not only is he a Swiftie, he also created the first ever drag queen superhero when he was writing the incredible Iceman. That's right, Iceman of X-Men, the first main member of the X-Men to fully come out, one of the original X-Men. That's right, if you haven't heard, Iceman's gay. Yeah, we all knew. But he finally came out some years ago, and Sina Grace got to write his single book, his solo book, Iceman, the Iceman, for 2 runs, I believe. And while he was writing for, Marvel and writing this first out gay character, he created Shade, aka Dark Veil, a black queer drag queen superhero mutant. So that's one of my favorite characters ever, and I am gonna keep petitioning and tweeting that Shade, aka Dark Veil, should have her own series, her own book, and should eventually appear in the movies. She should have been in WandaVision. I love that character. Thank you so much, Sina Grace, for creating her. And now it's time for the end of our show, folks. It's time for me to show you the man, the myth, the legend, Tiny Baruch. But before I do, please make sure to stick around because after my set is over, we are going to do a Q&A. That's right, you're going to be able to ask us questions. At first, it's going to be me asking my friends, these incredible people that have done this show with me tonight, some questions, questions that I've always had inside my heart for them. And then we will take some questions from the audience. So please stick around and add your questions to the chat, I guess. I think that's how it's working. I don't know. I don't know technology. I just like to draw. But yes, please stick around for the Q&A. And now it is time for us to just dive in and, do this part of the show in which I bring to you little tiny Baruch. I'm going to adjust everything so I can get closer to my laptop because I'm here in San Francisco at the comfort of my own home, and I'm going to be reading some of my stuff to y'all. So, all right, everybody, take a deep breath, let it out, and let's start the Tiny Baruch show. Here we go. I'm going to screen share. It's going to be awkward, but go with it. Go with it. Why not? Here we go. Let's see. Burp, burp, burp. All right. This is Tiny Baruch. Hi. He loves you. I do. He loves donuts. That is very true. He believes in you and knows you will make your dreams come true. You can do it! Unless you're a white supremacist. Then you can, fuck off and die! That's right, you can fuck off and die. Tiny Baruch is all about love, but he hates Nazis and racists. And if you're a racist, you can fuck off and die. And there is Tiny Baruch flipping off the camera and saying, adios pinche gringo de mierda. Because if you haven't heard, I was born in Toluca, Mexico, and then came here to the US to take all your jobs and make out with all of your boyfriends and husbands. Why? Porque sí se puede. But back to Tiny Baruch. Tiny Baruch is a lot of things. He loves art. He loves history. He loves the universe and donuts and pancakes and looks really good in a Little Prince jacket. Tiny Baruch is powerful, a hero, majestic. Tiny Baruch is brave, a warrior. Also loves wearing skirts because he is brave. He will also cut a bitch if you try to fuck with his friends. Tiny Baruch is all about peace and love, but if you do anything to harm black people, brown people, Asian people, trans people, genderqueer people, he will fucking come after you. That's Tiny Baruch dressed as Dark Phoenix, about to destroy. Tiny Baruch loves art. He loves his culture. He loves being Mexican. And he loves Frida Kahlo and pizza and hot chocolate. Tiny Baruch can get weird. He can get with it. Also, one thing that helped me through the pandemic was drugs. I'm not that cool. It's mostly edibles. Tiny Baruch loves doing drag. Unlike real Baruch, who's kind of like too lazy about it, Tiny Baruch loves doing drag. He also likes to have fun, and he likes art, and he likes Keith Haring. Here is, before we go on, I'm going to show you just like, I've been doing Tiny Baruch for a long time, and most of them are really short, and these tiny little notebooks. And so this is an example of a classic old school, not old school, he's only been around for like 3 years, Tiny Baruch. All right, I wore an astronaut suit, a full body onesie, a bib, and had the burrito teleported into my mouth bit by bit. So my t-shirt should be clean as a what the fuck? So that is a classic Tiny Baruch. And if you're a fat person like me, you know the struggle. Before I got fat, I was like the neatest eater. I don't know what it is, but people would like compliment me on how neat I eat. Then I got fat and I still eat neat. I'm a very neat, clean eater, but somehow my giant belly, it acts like a planet, and the gravitational pull, no matter what I do, I still end up with crap on my shirt. And I was just trying to like express that through the art of Tiny Baruch. And there he is, even though he wore a spacesuit, a onesie, and like did everything, there was still food on his shirt, and he's really pissed about it. Another thing Tiny Baruch loves is enjoying life. And sometimes enjoying life means ordering takeout, not putting away your laundry, and sleeping with a lot of men. And sometimes he gets criticized about that. For example, I get criticized about that, and Tiny Baruch reminds me not to give a fuck. So here's Tiny Baruch hiding in a pile of laundry, and his roommate is saying, "Hey, aren't you going to put your laundry away?" And Tiny Baruch is like, "No." It's like, fuck off, go away. Hey, don't you think you ordered too much takeout? And there's Tiny Baruch who has built a fort in his leftover takeout containers. And he's like, no. Hey, don't you sleep? Don't you think you sleep with too many men? And there's Tiny Baruch with all the men he slept with that year saying, no, for the last time, no, I don't sleep with too many men. Sleeping with a lot of men is amazing. So that is one of my favorite Tiny Baruchs. And let's see what the next one is. Okay, so the next one is a series that I did for the NCTC, New Conservatory Theater. Oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? I haven't had my coffee yet, maybe. New Conservatory Theater commissioned me to do this piece for one of their shows, and a lot of people didn't get to see it, so I'm going to share it with y'all tonight. It is titled Tips on How to Get Through a Pandemic with Tiny Baruch. Go for a walk once a day. Try to be around trees. Try not to think about ghosts. Don't think about now, over 500,000 new ghosts walking around. Or put your hand out to the air to maybe touch a ghostly hand. Or get a ghost high five from someone who misses touching someone as much as you do. Let Netflix keep playing on a loop as you clean your room in case the new ghosts want something to watch. Dance alone in your bedroom. Picture yourself on a dance floor, all with all the people you have ever loved. Go wild. Let your body cry as much as it needs you to. Hydrate. Call a friend once a day, even if you run out of things to talk about. Talk about the best positions to cry in despair. On the floor, against the wall, in the bathroom, or stick to the classics. Lie down and be depressed on your actual bed. Wear your mask. Wash your hands. Stay inside. Call your mom. Write letters. Video chat your friends. Think about how we will all be in the same room together again someday, hugging, smiling, laughing. It may get rough, but you gotta push through. Do it for the people who love you. Do it for the people that we lost. Do it for you. Imagine a dance floor full of beautiful queers, all slow dancing closely. Imagine a handsome man watching you across the room. Slowly move towards each other like a musical. Slowly touch each other's hands. Let him press himself against you as you slow dance. Feel his cheek on your cheek. Smile every time each of your ears brush softly together with each dance move, both leading, both following. Close your eyes and let your heart open again. Picture a room in the future where you will let your heart open again and sing. So that was tips on how to get through a pandemic with Tiny Baruch. And that's one of my favorite drawings that I've done of Tiny Baruch, him imagining being in a dance floor again full of beautiful queers. And those are all my queer couples that I drew, all snuggling and making out. And I hope to do that again someday. I'm vaccinated. I haven't been able to go out yet. I also haven't been invited to a lot of parties. But once I do, I know I will hopefully go and maybe get to dance with a handsome man. Now for our next slide. So this is one of my newest Tiny Baruchs, and you special people at home get to be the first to see it. This one was inspired by a real life conversation I had with my mother while driving her around doing errands. So there's Tiny Baruch driving with his mom. His mom is next to him, and here we go. Mom, don't get mad. I'm an adult. It's my body, and I've decided to seriously consider doing bear porn to pay the bills. And then my mother says, really? Don't you think you should do some squats first? And I go, what? What? And my mother says, things are getting pretty droopy back there. And I go, Mother! My mother says, you can't even do a push-up. And I'm like, And then my mother keeps going, you think you're going to last through one scene with your asthma and the shape you're in? Porn? Really? Porn? And then Tiny Baruch just goes, okay, I was joking, but okay. And my mother goes, cool, I wasn't joking. I mean, sure, son, follow your dreams or whatever. Now drive me to brunch. And then Target, there's a sale. Yes, Mom. So that was the brand new Tiny Baruch just for y'all. And now I have some more Tiny Baruch just for y'all. This is also a brand new piece that I did just for this show. And I wouldn't have done it without the incredible support of the Queer Cultural Center and the National Queer Arts Festival. It's been a big part of my life since I moved to San Francisco. So every time I get to be a part of this festival, I feel like a real artist. So I just want to take this moment to thank the National Queer Arts Festival and Queer Cultural Center in such a competitive world where a lot of us queer artists, immigrant artists, POC artists have so many disadvantages. To have a center that is focused on supporting you as an artist, not just once or twice, but throughout your career, is just so incredible and vital. And I always thank them from the bottom of my heart. My first solo show was through the Queer Cultural Center, through a grant I got from them in 2010. It was called Reasons to Stay on the Ground. It was about how you shouldn't kill yourself, or me trying to talk myself out of killing myself. So yeah, I've had a long relationship with them, and I'm very grateful. So here is another new piece. Now that the pandemic is winding down, everyone seems to be talking about the future. And I can't really picture mine. My future is not something I can visualize right now. All I seem to be able to see is nothing. Being an artist, aside from stress and money and drama, mostly brings you joy. Joy I've always been able to grasp with my own chubby hands. A joy that makes me feel real. For a while now, my hands have been empty. And lately, I've been looking for a sign. When my parents got divorced, well, when my mother finally left my father, our world was ripped apart. We had to flee from the house. We drove around because there was nowhere to go. And coincidentally, right when we got into the car, a storm began to scream across the Bay Area. We drove around forever. My mother seemed to be driving in circles looking for something. Finally, my mother started to drive to our spot on top of the Berkeley Hills, where at the time she cleaned houses. I was 16. I said, Mom, there's a storm right now. We're not going to be able to see the view. Why are we driving up there? My mother looked at me and said, because God is going to give me a sign, she said. I know it. Then, funny enough, when we got to the top of the hills, the storm stopped. The sky cleared, and a giant rainbow appeared across the Bay Area. It was the biggest one I'd ever seen. The universe has always given me a sign in my darkest times. The pandemic was rough, but I kept seeing signs of hope. And then they stopped, so I kept waiting patiently. Then I started to look for them. Then I had to stop because I just kept finding nothing. Then the pandemic started to get better. Everybody started to find hope, started to slowly go back to normal. And I still felt hopeless, like I was underwater at the bottom of a large pool looking up, and the water is nothing but despair. I went back to therapy, got a second therapist just for insurance, and I've been working really hard to change my habits, to change my outlook, or at least be grounded enough to see a sign when it finally comes, a symbol of hope that I feel life or the universe has always given me. But I have not found it. And I think I might not for a long, long time. I'm trying to be okay with that. I'm trying to be patient, present, and working very, very hard to try to forgive myself. I've always been an almost atheist. I'm not an atheist, but almost. And now I feel silly pushing myself to believe that hope exists for me, even though I cannot see it. A lot of people are happily going back to normal, but a lot of us are still inside of it, inside the four walls, an isolating place we can't seem to get out of. If you're like me, you're not alone. So please be kind to yourself. Even though your hands may feel empty, you still have hands to touch your chest and be grateful for the beating of your heart. Be grateful for your breath, for your body. You survived the worst of a pandemic. Not many people did. I am grateful I'm still alive. And even though I don't see it, I'm forcing myself to believe that one day I'll look up and see that things are getting better. The end. So that was Tiny Baruch, new Tiny Baruch, just for y'all watching from home tonight. Thank you so much for being present and listening and watching our show. But it's not over yet. We are now going to do the Q&A. So everybody, please take a deep breath. Let it out. And give yourselves a round of applause for being at home and watching this show and enjoying it with all of us. And let's bring back, I don't remember if we're going to do applause video for me or not. Synergy, is there going to be an applause video for me? Okay, let's do it. Let's bring on the applause video. All right. Please welcome back to the virtual stage, Sina Grace, Anand Vedawala, and Breena Nuñez. Hello, you beautiful, beautiful people. You know, you guys, we look so good. I'm going to take a picture. I know it's in the middle of a show. I don't care. It's my show. Okay, look cute. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. One more. Serious face. Thank you so much, everyone. Your performances were so great. Your art is so great. And I kind of love each and every one of you. I'm going to dive right into the Q&A for our folks watching tonight. Thank you so much for being here. I have a first question, and my question is I'm going to ask the question, and I'm going to point to y'all, call y'all out to give you a chance to answer. What is your current favorite comic book character that is queer and POC? So, your favorite comic book character who also happens to be queer and also happens to be POC. I'm gonna go first. I have two. It's Shade, aka Dark Veil, and Richter, the Mexican who is gay and causes earthquakes and sometimes dates apocalypse. All right, I'm gonna pass it over to Breena. You go first.
Sure. My favorite character is Awan Mance, who stars in their very own graphic um, memoir as a zine called Gender Studies.
I love Awan Mance. I'm a big fan of Awan. I brought her over to Strut, to where I work, to do an art show because I'm just such a big fan of hers. I should do a show like this with her. Sina Grace, who's your favorite character?
Mine is the Ryan Wilder Batwoman, who, yes, is on the CW show and making it such a better show, but also has recently started showing up in the comic books. So looking forward to seeing kind of what DC Comics does with her moving forward.
That is so cool. Right now, y'all, if you don't know, DC and I think Marvel as well is doing these Pride issues, right, Sina? Didn't you have something to
Yeah,
do with that one? Can you tell us a
I'm
little bit
like
about that?
DC Pride. I'm trying to see if I can reach to a copy. I don't know if I can. DC Pride is a wonderful, gorgeous 80-page anthology. The thing that's awesome about it, and I think I can say with certainty better than Marvel's, is that we had like 6 editors, all from, different corners of the LGBTQIA community, coming through and working with each of the talents to make sure that all sides of the spectrum were loved and honored in these stories, that we weren't just doing celebratory stories. There were some romantic ones, there were some reflective ones, there were some call to arms ones. There were, it's just a really, really lovely book because there was so much care put into it. And that's because DC has the folks behind the scenes taking responsibility and making sure that these things are done really super well. It's just a lovely book, and I have a little story in it too, but mine's tiny, so that's not even the point of why I'm telling people to read it. It's just a great book.
But you're in it. So go out now and get your copy of these Pride issues, y'all. Anand, who's your favorite character?
Since you chose 2, I'm also going to go with 2. And one of them, I actually had to text Breena quickly and be like, Breena, can I choose this person? Want to make sure you're not going to be and it's actually Breena's partner, Lawrence
Yay!
Lindell, whose work is amazing and fantastic. And I love graphic novelists and comic books artists who write about themselves and write about their own histories, and especially with Lawrence, who writes about his mental health and about what it's like to be queer. So it's odd to be choosing. He's not really a character, he's a real person who I also know in real life. But that's one. And the other one would be for the 10-year-old version of me who, when he first moved to the US, started watching animated TV shows and came across the X-Men and didn't know why, but just like looking at Wolverine's furry arms. So I'm going to go with Wolverine.
Yay. I love me a hairy man. And Lawrence Lindell is so talented. We had his art show at where I work, and every day people commented on how awesome it was. And he counts because he is he is a character in his own comic, so that counts. Next question is, when did you first start drawing? I'll go first. My mother claims that she taught me to draw when I was like 2 and in diapers. She has photographs of this. She has like a photograph of me being a toddler, and she was like, yeah, you couldn't really walk yet, but you would spend hours drawing. and we could not get you to hold a crayon. All these people, like family members would gift you crayons, and you as a toddler would be like, "Get that shit away from me." You were such a fancy little boy. You wanted markers, and I was like, "Yeah, I still want markers. I'm all about markers." So I started very young. Sina Grace, when did you first start drawing?
I probably started around when I was like 4 or 5, and my mom is a great archivist and has all the like printer paper back when it would come like connected and had those like annoying
The little balls and the dots. Yeah.
yeah. And I would just retell The Wizard of Oz like over and over and over and over again. And there's an adorable one of like where I was trying to tell a Batman story, but I was like, Batman hangs out with his friends, like Catwoman, Robin, and the Penguin, and it's like Catwoman's like doing cartwheels, and they're all just kind of like his friends. So yeah, that around then, and then in like middle school, high school was when I started thinking about telling my own stories instead of regurgitating these old comic books.
Aww. When I was in middle school, one way that I would get bullies to leave me alone, because I was bullied a lot, like most of us were. But one day I was drawing Rogue in the library, and it was the 90s, so women were drawn very, sexually back then. And so I was drawing Rogue the way I knew how to draw her, with like giant boobs. And one of my biggest bullies was like, "Can I have that? You're really good." And I was like, "Are you gonna leave me alone?" And he was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, but can I have that drawing?" And I was like, "Here." And then the next day, this other bully who would like try to punch my head all the time in class, he was like, "Hey, could you draw that Storm, but like in a bikini with big ass boobs?" And I was like, "Are you gonna leave me alone?" And so that's how I started drawing ex women in these like sexual positions and just giving them to the bully so they would leave me the fuck alone. And eventually I started charging them. But Breena Nuñez, when did you first start drawing?
Around the same time that y'all are saying, definitely since childhood. And because I didn't speak any language until I was 4, and even then it was like really muddled English and some kind of combination of Spanglish and English. I don't know. Drawing was always a way for me to communicate what I was feeling, and um, also like just another way for me to feel like I'm helping somebody in my family if they're sick. So my grandma just told me that she still has a box full of like these greeting cards that are like get well soon cards, where I drew myself as like kind of similar to like your style, Baruch, like very similar like style, like with markers too. Now that I remember, just with markers and just ballpoint pen, me dressed up as a little nurse and just tending to like everyone's
Aw.
needs.
That's lovely. That's a great. Folks at home, if you are thinking about being an artist, it saves you a lot on greeting cards. So many times that I was like, "Oh God, I don't have any money." I would just draw my dad or my mother like a Mother's Day card, and they loved it. And sometimes I didn't even try that hard, but my dad was like, "This is beautiful," and he still has a lot of them. Anand, when did you first start being an artist and drawing?
Um, I'm thinking of a memory from like kindergarten or first grade, and this is in India. And I remember getting like an exam for everything, including art, and being told to draw something and color something and create this sort. And I remember my teacher coming over and telling me that she really liked it, that it was amazing, that it was beautiful and everything. And then they have to give you a score. And she said, "This deserves a 15 out of 15 because it's so good. But I'm going to give you a 13 because no one is perfect at art." And that's what I remember about.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, "You're telling this to a 5 or 6-year-old?" It's like, thanks. So it did scar me. So I remembered. And of course, fortunately, me, not at all competitive. Never. It just made me want to draw more. I'm like, I'm going to get that 15. How dare you not give me a 15?
Oh my gosh, that is hilarious. That is so funny. I had something similar in Mexico. A lot of teachers were like, "You can't just focus on art. You also have to learn math and history." And I would just be like, "Leave me the heck alone." I was not good at school. Another question I have, by the way, folks watching at home, feel free to ask questions. I don't remember if you can put them in the chat. I don't remember how technology works, but put them in the chat, and Kim is going to let me know what they are in our chat, because we have different chats because of technology. My next question is favorite graphic novel. I'll go first because I like going first. I know that every cool person on the planet already knows this, but there's a lot of not cool people. So, Saga, just epic. Loved it. And yes, I know they're aliens, but I see them as people of color. The two main characters in my mind were like Puerto Rican and Mexican and like half Middle Eastern. I just like, I know that they're not, real, but I loved Saga. Start reading it now if you're at home. And I'm going to just send it back to Anand. Do you have a graphic novel that you recommend and are really excited about?
So I've been reading a bunch of graphic novels actually just recently, and one that stuck out in the way that the panels were done and the way the story was told. There were a lot of pauses and moments of silence, and it's This One Summer by, I want to say, Mariko Tamaki. I may be butchering the name completely, and I'm really sorry.
No, it's Mariko Tamaki, I think. That's
Tamaki. Thank you so much, Sina.
Sorry.
No, that was great. Thank you. But yeah, it's about these two teenage girls, and they're away at like this one summer, spending it together with their families. And they're learning more about what it's like to be women or young girls, but also just the relationships they have with their mothers. And as you may have noticed, I like when characters do explore. When characters do explore their relationships with their mothers. So yeah, I would say that one for sure.
I'm going to interrupt the Q&A real quick. Anand, aren't you working on a children's book project?
I
Or
am.
is that not, am I not allowed to say that yet?
I guess you can say that. I don't know if we are. We're still working on it, and I'm definitely not working on it.
Never mind.
No, but it's great. This is perfect because I'm definitely not working on it with Breena right there. Who knows? But yes.
Okay, well, if y'all want to plug projects tonight, feel free, please. Who else is now? Sina Grace, you go next. Any graphic novels that you want to recommend? Especially if they're by queer people or people of color.
Yeah, well, I'm a little upset because I'm gonna be on the Mariko bandwagon, but I love everything she does. Sorry, my dog is now part of the show. This is Henry.
Yes!
Henry Trap Queen Grace. This is his way of saying he wants a walk, but he's gonna have to wait just a few minutes. On the Mariko train, I like Laura Dean Keeps Breaking Up With Me. She's also writing Batman right now, and this guy Dan Mora is drawing it, and it's stupendous. I mean, I already knew that because she had written him in some short stories and stuff, but I just like, it's just great to be like an unabashed Batman fan and someone that you admire and respect and think is just the bomb.com. Writing it makes me all the more happy. And then I'm going to add another one because, we need variety here. I read this book last year called In Waves by AJ Dungo, and it's just a really, really, really heartbreaking nonfiction book about his partner dying of cancer, and then also him learning about the history of surfing. And he lands the plane flawlessly, made me cry so many times. And I just think if a comic book can actually move you to tears, you've got to tell everyone about it. So he's by all means, I think, totally heterosexual, but he gets a hall pass because he's a stunning storyteller and a really nice guy.
Oh, nice. Breena Nuñez, do you have a graphic novel that you want to recommend?
Yes, I just finished it like a couple of weeks ago, and it's by Sharon Lee de la Cruz. And I just was DMing her, like just trying to gush all of this praise and glory about how it's one of like the very few graphic novels I've been able to feel like seeing. She goes into just everything about what it means to understand your gender identity, your queerness, it's super vulnerable stuff, and also just like embracing Blackness at the same time.
What was it called again?
Oh, I didn't even say the title. Thank you for reminding me, Sina. The title is "I'm a Wild Seed,"
I'm
inspired
a
by
Wild Seed. Okay.
yeah,
Oh my God.
yeah,
Nice.
inspired by just all of the different parts of her identity. It's definitely a beautiful read when it comes to understanding intersectionality, all that good LGBTQIA plus stuff.
Nice. I'm gonna check that out. I'm gonna take a moment and pause to see if we have any questions from the audience. Kim, do we have? Here we go. Question number 1 from the audience. Thanks so much, audience. What's your advice for people who are just starting to think about adding drawing or illustration to their storytelling? Any tips on how to start?
I can go first if that's okay.
Yes, go ahead.
I think one of the best things I ever heard someone else say in a conversation like this is start small, start manageable. You don't there's no world where you should come sort of like head first with your magnum opus. Create really small projects that are easy to finish, because also when you are just sorry, Henry's right here, when side-eyeing y'all like crazy. Because when you are starting out, it's that rush of finishing something is so necessary to balance out all the imposter syndrome, all of the flaws you see. So just whatever it is, if it's going to be a comic strip or something, start small. And then also the internet has all your answers in terms of like, how do I draw this, or how do I format that? Like, it's all there. So yeah, ask the questions online, and the answers will be there. And people are so helpful in our community in terms of being giving about that information. Sorry, this dog.
It's okay. Hi, Henry. Sina's right. Start small is good. I mean, I had the first Tiny Baruch I drew in this like really small little notebook when I think I was out and about. So my advice is always carry a small notebook. You never know when you're going to have an hour or two to wait at the DMV. And what's great about little notebooks is for me, they were less pressure. Bigger notebooks, I'm like, oh gosh, whatever I draw better be amazing. Little cheap notebooks, if you fuck up, you can just keep drawing. You can just keep going. It doesn't matter. And it was great for me to just start like, because I left art for a long time because I was told I had to concentrate on one thing all the time. And then I changed. Now I'm concentrating on too many things and not answering emails and crying myself to sleep at night. But when I came back to it, I was scared to come back because I knew it was going to hurt when I started to draw and I wasn't good anymore, or as good as I thought I should be at that time. And it did hurt. It did hurt. But then, whatever, fuck it. As I started to draw more and more every day, I didn't get better, but I felt more comfortable drawing. And if I did mess up, it wasn't the end of the world. Breena, Anand, any advice for people that are starting out?
Um, because I draw, I think, less than what Breena does, I'll go first. References always help. And for someone like with Hot Chachas, I kind of just focused on like a single image per each story or each of the uncles. That I think that helps me focus instead of saying, okay, how do I tell the same story but with multiple panels or over lots of pages? And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to assign this one illustration for this one section. And then another thing I was going to say is for one of my zines called My Lover's Miami Bay, I got a parasite. I got really sick. And I wanted to talk about my former lovers and everyone else. And I had a deadline to me because I wanted to have the zine ready for a zine fest somewhere else. And I was like, you know what? I need to do all these illustrations, or at least some illustrations that I want to have in there, but I didn't have time. So I used the Bitmoji app, created an avatar of myself, and then modified that Bitmoji to add the amoeba in there. So I just took it and just modified what was already there to play around with it. But again, it was just something because I wanted an illustration to go along with it. So I would say use references and experiment, play around with anything if that's what's helping you visualize how you want to tell your story.
Breena?
Yeah, just echoing all of these answers. They're like super lovely. And I love the one about just starting off small. And something I like to tell students is that I'm also interested in knowing what you cook for breakfast, because you're going to make something that I've never made before. And I do want to read that in a comic strip. So you can definitely challenge yourself with starting at like in small mini memoir comic strips, like diary comics. Not only are they like super cathartic and healing, I don't know, it just makes you more grateful for existing and for having something to share with us that we probably haven't seen before.
Mm-hmm.
It's always weird. Oh, I want
Go
to
ahead,
add
Sina.
that if that's okay.
Yeah.
It's also weird that like it's like the path of least resistance, that you wouldn't think your simple cartoony gestural strips are going to actually be more impactful than the one drawing that you spend like 26 hours on. So that's the other reason. Yeah, just, you never know what people are going to react to until you put it out there. And also I have a question too before I forget. Is that okay, everybody?
Yeah.
How do we all feel about when people want to, if someone reacts to the work, do you want to engage with them? Do you want to get the DM? I know, Breena, you were saying you DM that author. And I personally, like, for my mental health, like, I need the compliments, because we also got some trolls on the internet. So it's my personal belief that, like, if you've got a compliment to give about someone's work, please give it to them. But I don't want to make that assumption for everyone. So I do want to know everyone else's thoughts, if you want to kind of have a separation from the reader, or if you actually like if you like the applause, as it were.
Well, I can go first. I am primarily a performer, so I live for the applause. I don't know how I've made it this whole year and a half without hearing applause in front of me. But and also I feel like as a fan, I always I do reach out and I do send messages of, like, how much I appreciate artists' work, even on Instagram or on Twitter, knowing that, but I don't expect it. I don't expect them to respond, because I know some people are very private, and some people are like, I have no idea who this person is. He could be a troll. So I always say the comment and I send the comment just in case they read it, and if they don't respond, I don't take it personally. But what's great about artists, comics and performers don't really do this as much in my experience, but visual artists, I feel are loners, so they always respond in the nicest, kindest way. Sina, I think when I met you at a comics event, and you just, not only did you chat with me, you gave me one of your graphic novels that you had on you. Like, artists are usually so nice, visual artists, and they usually respond right away to DMs, as long as you're not weird or a creep. But that's, I always send the message out, and even if I know they're never going to respond to me, just because, like, there's this one artist. I don't have his name on me right now. It's going to take too long for me to look him up on Instagram, but he only draws chubby, hairy men, and he draws them flying through space naked, or swimming in like a vat of ice cream, or floating through like another dimension. And he draws them so well, very chubby, very hairy, and they all look so beautiful. And when I'm down, I look at I look at that art, because I have such I've gained a lot of weight throughout my life, and I'm 360 pounds right now. That's sumo wrestler weight. And sometimes I need to see someone with a body like mine. So I send him messages all the time. I think he lives in Brazil, and he's always really nice. He's always like, "Thank you. That's why I do what I do." But yeah. So Anna and Breena, do y'all want to answer the question?
Yeah, I can go ahead. It's, I guess, been my experience whenever I write something, create something centering around Afro descendancy, especially for Salvadorans. Um, I had this one piece that was published on the Nib during Black History Month last year, before we all got into quarantine in the Bay. Ugh, like, I was really nervous because it was super personal, and it's me addressing also like my experiences with coping with or coming to terms with anti-Blackness since childhood. And the amount of like positive messages that I got from community, like, and people who also were kind of telling me like I went through something similar like you, it just made me feel less alone. And even throughout the rest of the pandemic, I felt like so many more of us like were coming together collectively to mourn, but to also like be really joyful that we're finding each other. So yes, to positive affirmations and sending all that good energy, because that helps us for sure.
Yeah, agreed. Thanks for saying that. And then I would also say, if you have negative comments, please don't add us. We'll
Yeah.
eventually come across, because I've also seen that happen. It's like, I get it. You really didn't
True.
like it. Didn't need to tell me directly that you're like, I really did not like this.
Oh yeah.
So yes, positive affirmations are welcome. Thank you.
One time it'll always stay with me, mostly because I just laugh so hard. When I started out as a spoken word artist, I my first big gig was in DC, and I like was flown there. I felt so fancy. I was 28, and I performed at the legendary Busboys and Poets and bombed. And most of the people were being polite enough to just not clap. They just were like not feeling me. But I'll always remember this one guy in the front row stood up in the middle of my set and just was like, not feeling it. And then everybody in the theater started laughing just because of how frank he was. And I went, thank you. And I just kept going. And then people laughed because I said thank you. But I was like, this isn't a comedy set. But you know what? It was a beautiful memory because I still like picture that man to this day. And when I'm in the audience and I'm not feeling it, I always picture him just the way he just stood up and was like, not feeling it. Of course, I would never do that to anyone, but anyway, it happened. Question number 2 from the audience, and then we'll have one last question from me, and then we'll wrap up the show. From one of our audience members: do you only read physical copies, or do you also read graphic novels digitally? If yes or no, how do you feel about one or the other? I'll go first. I love holding it. I love holding the physical copies. I will read digital ones. I read a lot. Back when I wasn't boycotting Tumblr, I try to boycott people that are anti-sexual images because fuck that. But when Tumblr was cool, I would read a whole bunch of online comics on Tumblr. It was a great way to find online comics until it started censoring them horribly. But I like both. What about the rest of y'all?
I also like holding physical. Sorry, I'm talking over you. I'm just gonna do it. Interrupting starfish. I also like holding physical books. Like I've tried audiobooks. I will do digital if like something's out of print and I really just want it, and I also want to give everyone involved the money. But yeah, nothing beats like holding a book, especially when you like this hand is like, oh, I've read this much of the book. Oh, but I have this much left. Like, anyway, not opposed to digital. I think it's great, but I can't change that. That's just like how my body reacts to the physicality of art.
Totally.
Yeah. I was gonna go similarly to now, Breena, I'm gonna talk over you. I'm sorry.
No, it's your turn to be.
I think we're all just gonna do that. Yes. I guess we're kind of from the self-publishing and zine world where a lot of it is physical. I mean, that's why folks table and sell their work, and you get to meet the artist in person as they're like just there, and you get to talk to them and give them compliments and tell them how amazing their work is. So I think I'm also just used to holding works in my hand and actually being able to go through them. But I will also add that during the pandemic, and because so many events didn't happen last year, and some that still aren't really happening, I've been reading a lot of it online. So it's just finding works that way. So both are awesome, but personal preference is just to have something in my hand that I can read.
And I don't know if this like is a testament to like how I feel about printed things versus digital comics.
No, that's a lie.
I mean, look at that beautiful background. It's just I love bookshelves full of. I mean, that looks gorgeous. I love it. I also love your little toys. That's
I was
so
gonna say a
cool.
tasteful collection of Funko Pops goes a
Mhm.
long way, and that feels like a tasteful amount.
Thank you, Sina. That means a lot from y'all. It's a combination between me and Lawrence, but just going back to like being a part of zines and just having that, I don't know, physical, like literal physical relationship with like drawing things like from scratch and then printing everything. There's just a lot of love and tenderness that goes into each zine that you make. And I feel like a similar thing happens when I find a graphic novel or a comic book at a bookstore, and I just get to carry that with me. Also, I have like really tired eyes, even though I do read digital comics or web comics. Like, I don't know about y'all, but I'm so tired from zooming day after day.
Yeah.
And I just need to like nap like for the next 24 hours after a day of zooming.
And now my last question. Before I answer my last question will be the end of the show. I just want to take a moment to thank the three of you for doing this show with me. It was kind of my little dream. It was exactly how I wanted it. Of course, I would have preferred that we all be doing this in a theater with a large screen, but maybe we will be able to do that later. But I also want to thank the National Queer Arts Festival, Queer Cultural Center, and I want the three of us to please give Gwen a big round of applause. Gwen, our stage manager. We would not have been able to do this show without her. She made us look better. She designed our intro videos and the sound, and I just think she's, A plus. Everybody hire Gwen. And
Also
I want to
super
thank
patient with
yes,
a shitbag like me. So thank you.
and I want to thank Corey, our closed captioner, for helping us make this show as accessible as possible. And I want to thank the viewers at home for supporting artists like us. Please follow all of us on social media. We're all Googleable, And also, if you have an extra, 10 or 20 bucks, buy my poetry books. I also have poetry books. There's no drawings in them. But if you want to read some of my writing in poetry form, please check them out.
They're so good. So good. I love them
You.
both.
All right, my last question, and you don't even it can be like a one-word answer, or you can tell us why. My last question is: how do you treat yourself when you accomplish a drawing or a zine or a chapbook? When I finished today, my little because I literally finished them today. I wasn't even able to color the one about bear porn. Whenever I finish something, I like to treat myself with a donut. I'm wearing a donut t-shirt. I love donuts. I think they represent the circle of life and how life can be delicious. And also they remind me of sexy sloppy holes. Anywho, Anand Vedawala, how do you treat yourself when you accomplish a piece of art?
I think by just lying down and not doing anything.
Oh.
I say this because I also just feel very excited. As my partner knows, I'll just say, I'm up, even if it's like 6 a.m. Instead of going to bed, I'll just be like, I'm up and just stay awake, but then just kind of lie down and just process all that I was able to do. That's really it.
But what do you like to eat?
I don't like to eat when I'm
okay.
sad or happy. I'm just like, I don't want stuff in my body. I'm good. I just need to process.
Breena Nuñez, how do you treat yourself when you've accomplished something?
Let's see, lately, like during the pandemic and still now, a little nightcap, a little glass of wine. Because it's just like another way for me to like compensate not going out dancing with friends and celebrating in that way.
I miss that. And I also miss wine because I haven't drank since for a while now. But I might start. I mean, now that the pandemic's almost over, who knows what the future will bring? Sina Grace, how do you treat yourself when you finish a project?
I just spent 10 minutes telling you guys I don't watch. I go to the Taylor Swift web store and I treat myself. No, but when I finish, like if I finish if I land like a deal, like if someone says, hey, we're gonna do this book with you, I used to go buy myself something like significant, whether it was like, oh, a nice new jacket or a nice pair of shoes. But now that I'm 30, it's like, oh, I like cleared my credit debt, or like, oh, I like, clearing my credit debt was like the biggest deal that like, a check helped me with. Oh, or like I set up my retirement. Sorry, this dog really needs a walk. But anyway, yeah, now I do dumb grown-up shit, like making sure I have a future that is healthy and secure.
That's important. That's very important. And I know that Henry needs to go out for a walk. Everyone, thank you so much for doing this show with us, doing this experience with us. And thank you for being who you are, creating your art and telling your stories and putting it out there. Folks at home, please support these artists and please support the Queer Cultural Center. If you're watching at home and you're a tech person, Venmo all of us $100. But most importantly, donate to the Queer Cultural Center so they can keep doing amazing shows like this and keep doing their annual National Queer Arts Festival, which they've been doing for a really long time, folks. My first National Queer Arts Festival was in 2010. It's 2021 now. I have lived in San Francisco a very long time, but I always thank them from the bottom of my heart. I also want to thank Mona and Kim and Sara Guerra and everyone who's helped put the show together. I'm sending all of you a kiss, un beso, and a lot of heart donuts. And one more thank you to Gwen. Please give it up for Anand Vedawala, Breena Nuñez, and the legendary Sina Grace. My name is Baruch Porras Hernandez. Woo. This has been Tiny Baruch and his amazing friends. Everybody have a great night.
Okay. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Buenas noches.
Ciao.
Que les vaya bien. Espero que tengan muchos besos en su futuro.